Racing of Concord, North Carolina, and Lowe's Motor Speedway. Some of the double-duty drivers are looking at 900 miles of racing. Brian Vickers being one of those, and he has the unfortunate draw of qualifying first for tonight's qualifying session. Very rare Thursday qualifying session, but you know what? The Coke 600 is such a special race. They do things a little bit differently here at Lowe's Motor Speedway. Let's take a look at the weekend menu, and it is a full one. Tomorrow is a dark day at the racetrack, but it is a very bright day in Uptown Charlotte. Trackside with Jimmy Johnson at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. That's all part of Speed Street as they are celebrating their 15th year of that festival in Uptown Charlotte. Sprint Cup practice and Nationwide Series qualifying on Saturday. Coverage starts at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. And then on Sunday, it's the big show. NASCAR race day, 3 o'clock Eastern Time. See the real deal behind the very happy Mark Martin and the Coca-Cola 600. The big race starts at 5 o'clock Eastern on Fox. And then NASCAR Victory Lane comes your way at 11 p.m. Eastern Time as well. And there we'll have a very happy man that not only defeated 42 competitors, but also beat this racetrack on one given night. Let's take a look at top 5 from Nationwide Series practice that just concluded moments ago. You saw Brian Vickers out on the racetrack ready to go qualifying in his Cup car. Well, there he is on the racetrack in his Nationwide car. He's 5th fastest in that final practice, and he had dabbled with the top spot for a while towards the end of that session as well after making 21 laps out on the racetrack. David Reagan was the 4th fastest in final practice, and he was busy. He had the most laps out of the top 5, running 38 out there with a top speed of 180.753 miles per hour. Another double-duty driver. And here's another one. It's the 98 of Paul Menard. He was 3rd fastest in his Roush Fenway Yates whatever Ford, and he finds himself after 25 laps at 180.860 miles per hour. The 2 fastest guys to beat are both from the Roush Fenway camp. It's the Biff, Greg Biffle, in car number 16 at a little bit better than 181 miles per hour. The guy everybody is chasing right now is 2nd in points, but he's 1st on the speed chart in this practice session. Remind you, they'll qualify on Saturday. Carl Edwards in the number 60 was the fastest, and he knocks Kyle Busch out of that position, who was fastest in the first practice. But, of course, it was Kyle Busch that had to change the engine on his number 18 car, and he'll be back when it comes time to qualify and race on Saturday. Let's now get you down into the garage area where we have 2 reporters patrolling for you. We got Bob Dillner and Randy Pemberton. Going to start out with you, Randy.
Hey, thanks, JR. Stephen Wallace, pretty good on the speed chart here. Practice now concluded. 12th. Looks like you guys had a great day, Stephen.
Yeah, you know, we started off a little slow. You know, our US Fidel Chevy was a little too tight there at the start, but we, you know, worked on it real hard. We got it finally turning pretty good, you know, but we made a lot of adjustments. We threw the whole kitchen sink at it today, and, you know, finally got it, you know, running good there the first half of the second practice, you know. So I'm pretty happy with it right now. We're still a little bit tight. You know, we're going to go you know, we're going to go up the truck, talk about it, see if we can make some, you know, different adjustments. But so far, so good for our Chevy. Pretty good.
Seems like you guys are making progress. Last 2 races, 11th and 14th. You've got 3 top 10s, looking for perhaps another one here at Lowe's, and only your 4th start at this track.
Yeah, you know, the first part of the season started out really good. You know, the first, you know, 3-4 races were real strong for us. You know, we kind of, you know, where we've been struggling the past 2 weeks, but I think we got our baseline back. You know, we unloaded pretty decent today, so you know, just been fighting tight at a lot of these racetracks. So, you know, we've been working on some, you know, tire data and stuff like that. You know, finally get our stuff going. So I feel like our car is pretty strong. So see what she's got tomorrow.
Hey, I'm curious. A long day here at the racetrack. You guys are off tomorrow before you come back here for qualifying and then racing on Saturday. What do you do with yourself in your hometown here on a Friday?
Well, in my case, I've been remodeling my townhome. So I'm going to put backsplash in my kitchen tomorrow. So that's what I'll be doing tomorrow. We got a 5-hour energy appearance down the road here at a Wilco gas station. So me and my teammate Brendan Gunn are going to do that tomorrow. But do a little backsplash tile laying and some sign autographs. So
there you go. And the inside scoop from Stephen Wallace, doing a little black backsplash tomorrow. Bob Dillner.
Greg Biffle among the fastest cars in practice here. In fact, one of his teammates just beat him at the top of the charts. But how's that car running?
Man, it's running really good. City Financial Ford Fusion, Eddie and all the guys have done a great job with this team. You know, I'm going for 3 in a row this week because I've been taking a partial retirement from Nationwide Racing. And Matt went and goes, and we giving each other a bad time about winning, you know, and putting pressure on each other. So he won last week at Darlington, so I'm going to pressure's on this week.
All right, you know, you skip tomorrow, not even here tomorrow and then come back on Saturday and go right for qualifying. How confident are you?
Really confident. This car is really fast and race trim. We feel like, maybe a tenth better than a lot of the cars. 2 or 3 tenths better than some guys that we normally have to race. So you never know. You come race time, we'll see what happens. But Carl looks fast, and you can't count Kyle Busch and those guys. So we'll just see what happens.
How about qualifying on the Cup side? You got to practice that car here today. What do you think?
Well, we jumped around a little bit on qualifying with the American Red Cross car. We were too tight and then too loose, so hopefully we got it right down the middle. I'll find out here in about 31 cars.
Kind of hard to tell, too, with the day practice. I mean, now you changed the nighttime stuff. It's one of those fun things about this weekend, isn't it?
Yeah, and this racetrack, like no other, changes. We thought it would be repaved. When they repaved it, that would go away. Temperature sensitive as can be. This thing is like a grouch. It just, changes from day to night, and it'll do funny things. So hopefully it'll be like the All-Star qualifying. We had a pretty good run there.
Greg Biffle looking good in the Nationwide Series. Hoping to qualify well tonight in the Sprint Cup Series.
Bob, thanks a lot. And this is the qualifying session that probably means more as far as your draw goes than any other qualifying session. Early is bad, late is good. And the earliest qualifier will be Brian Vickers in the number 83. And also the latest qualifying of the non-go or go-home cars is Juan Pablo Montoya. He will go out in the 35th spot. And then, of course, we'll have the knockout qualifying session and the go or go-home cars. Let's take a look at the final practice series for the Nationwide Series at Lowe's. It's Carl Edwards fastest. We have Brian Vickers rounding out the top 5, as you saw earlier. Then it's Kevin Harvick in the 33-6 fastest, Scott Speed, Kyle Busch, Bernie Lamar, and another double-duty driver, David Gilliland, in the 42. Got to take a quick break here on Speed, but on the other side of this commercial, we'll be back to see drivers like Kyle Busch qualify.
Lowe's Motor Speedway, where tonight it is Windstream Pole Night, and the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series is set to qualify for Sunday night's 50th running of the Coca-Cola 600. Beautiful evening here. Most of those big, heavy clouds have moved away. So a bit of light clouds and still a little bit of sunshine here at the Speedway as we move on into evening. When we come to qualifying at Charlotte, I just think back to the days when David Pearson had whipped that Wood Brothers Mercury around here for 4 consecutive laps, not just the fastest of 2, to win 11 straight poles and 14 overall. I mean, you talk about pole qualifying at Charlotte, that's the endearing memory for me.
Well, it is. You got, Ryan Newman has been on. He was on a pretty good tear for a while. Jeff Gordon was on a pretty good tear for a while, but it's not exactly like Darlington. When Jeff Gordon said he got out of the car and his hands were shaking, he was out of breath, only 1 lap. Here you got a little bit more room to work with. Here you can bail it off in the corner. If it doesn't necessarily stick on that white line, it can wash up the track a little bit. And as we saw in the All-Star race, there's plenty of grip up high. And we saw Kurt Busch here last week kind of run the middle of the racetrack. So we may see a variety of lines around here tonight, kind of depending on what your car is going to do. And we may say, oh, that lap's way off. But we better wait till we see what the time is before we really make that prediction.
Well, and I think the biggest thing when I think of qualifying at Lowe's is what we go through every time we come here twice a year. We practice in the heat of the day. Everybody's sliding around. Everybody's complaining about too tight, loose. But trust me, the ambient temperature has not changed that much since about 2 o'clock this afternoon, but the track has really cooled down. And I think, as we saw last week, in All-Star qualifying, these cars are going to pick up a ton of speed from what they ran in practice earlier. I'm not sure that anybody knows exactly just how fast they can run.
And here's the big difference. Just when the sun's shining, go out on your driveway barefooted and try to walk across it.
No, thank you.
But then go out in the evening, to take a little stroll barefooted. Total different deal. And that's kind of the difference in the racetrack from sun to dark.
All right, well, we go barefoot, and let's go down to the front of the qualifying line, and Matt Yoakum.
Mike, it's called the Coca-Cola 600, but for traditionalists like yourself, myself, Dale Earnhardt Jr., we always still call it the World 600. And DJ, when you look at this event in this place, how fun for you to come here every May?
I've been coming here since I was a little kid. This is one of the races we never had to miss, because of school or anything. And so I've seen a lot of races here since the mid-'80s and early 80s, and it's got a lot of personality. And one of the guys that always kept it that way was Humpy Wheeler, and even though he's not around anymore, I mean, the track still has a lot of his personality, and there's just a lot of stuff that happened here. And he put on the whole show for all them years. And
it's a lot of fun to come here. It's a great racetrack. They did a good job with the tire. And Amp Energy Chevrolet with National Guard on board. We're going to see what we can do here in qualifying. I think we've got a pretty fast piece.
The personality the track was giving you, what did you see in practice earlier today to look forward to tonight?
Well, you know, there's some guys running some pretty good times. We were right up in there, and we just got to, you know, I drove the Nationwide car for several laps there, and you can't drive this car that far down in the corner. So just got to make sure we don't overdrive the car, get to the bottom, and get the gas, keep it there.
He was in the gas 9 years ago when he put his car in the Sprint Cup Series on the pole for the Coca-Cola World 600.
Thanks, Matt. Brian Vickers will be the first car on the clock. He was the second fastest Toyota in practice and 5th quickest overall, followed by Marcus Ambrose and Dale Jr. Winner at California and Richmond. 17th in the standings, same as he was last year after 11 races. Just 83 points behind the top 12.
And I think he'll give us a pretty good read on what this track has got in it. If you notice, he's really doing a good job of trying to get that thing wound up through 3 and 4 coming to take the green, Darrell.
Yeah, he didn't drive it down in there and hug the white line. He let it go up to track to get a lot of straightaway speed there. Now, I'm sure on his qualifying lap, you can see here, he's trying to hold it down on the bottom as he comes off turn 2. But that coming to the green lap, I liked.
In the 2 races last year here at Lowe's Motor Speedway, Vickers led a combined total of more laps than anybody else.
Oh, he's got a strategy, see. These guys learned this over here last week, that the racetrack is fast in a lot of different places and a lot of different ways.
Well, he's picked up about a half a second. He'll be one and done. He ran a 29.28 in practice, picks it up to a 28.81.
Nice job.
And I think this is what we'll see on these top 35 guys. The money lap for taping it up almost solid, no air going into the cooler, the water in the radiator. I think they'll pretty much stick with 1 lap.
I believe if I was trying to pick a perfect time to go out, I believe I'd like to go out about mid-pack. And I tell you why. When do they test tires? They don't test them at night. And a lot of times we've seen them over here as the track cools down. These guys complain about their cars actually getting looser.
Your brother had a great point the other night on This Week in NASCAR on Monday night. He said, you know, honestly, everybody wants to go dead last. He said, if this thing goes fairly late, he said, this time of year, you'll start getting some moisture
yeah.
Dew that'll start coming down on the racetrack, and that could actually hurt the handling characteristics.
Yeah, I really believe that. I think about mid-pack is a good time to go. That way you're just catching the track as it's cooling down. Hadn't gotten chilled down yet.
Marcus Ambrose, the Kingsford Matchlight. Toyota, 4 nationwide, 1 truck start here. This is his first Cup appearance.
Yeah, he's having looked like he was having a little issue there in the middle of 3 and 4.
And he ran a 29.57 in practice. He's going to pick it up to a 28.99. There's a little over half a second pickup again.
He's done.
And up next, Dale Jr.
That's pretty good.
Jr. won the pole here in 2000. Finished 4th in that race after leading 175 laps. There's Brian Vickers, who is quickest.
I just believe there's a lot more speed in this racetrack coming. Maybe not right at this moment, but it will be before we get too far into the session. I think we're going to see some pretty fast laps here in a little bit, like in the lower 28s is what I was thinking. 28, 30 maybe.
Dale Jr. still looking for his first top 10 start of the year. He has qualified in the top 10 3 of his last 4 races, including the last 2 Coke 600s.
I've watched this car all in practice, and I like the way it's getting into the corner today. It really looks like it's cutting down in there for him without getting loose. The thing really cuts to the bottom right there, and you don't see that very often with this car.
Car did look good, especially down there right through the middle of 3 and 4. It looked like it carried a lot of speed through there, but the problem is I think he's going to be 3rd quickest of the 3 cars that's qualified at a 29.05, so he's not in the 28s with this 88 car.
Looks like he thinks there's some speed left in that bad boy. I think I agree with him.
3rd driver on the clock is the first to take a 2nd lap.
Only thing I'll say, Darrell, and I don't think it's going to be quicker, like off of 2, looked like the car didn't stick quite as good that lap. And he slows down almost 3/10.
Yeah. I think that's what most people anticipated. I don't think he probably felt like he left a little on the table in that first lap.
Steve Burns.
With Brian Vickers. Mike, Brian, you picked up half a second from practice. Were you pleased with that lap?
Yeah, I mean, I was pleased with the time. I mean, we'll see where it holds up. To be honest with you, I wasn't thinking it was going to be that good. I got really loose in one. I had so much wheel getting to the right, getting in the corner, that when it finally landed correct in the car, I think I overloaded the left front. It bottomed out a pretty good bit and shot off the racetrack. The rest of the lap was good. Coming to the green was really good. I felt like my the time lap through 3 and 4 was really good. I just wasn't happy with how loose we were in the one, but I mean, it seemed like we still ran a good time. We'll see.
Thank you, Brian.
Thanks.
Jeff Gordon and the DuPont Chevy ran off 5 straight Coke 600 poles. He has 6 pole positions at this racetrack, tied for second on the all-time list.
And Mike, it looks like the same thing that was going on in qualifying went over here in the race the other night. Coming up off turn 2, looks like the cars just lose a lot of grip as they come up out of the hole over there.
I'll tell you what, this cat's pretty sharp about his race car. He really was not ultra fast in practice, but he told Steve Letarte, I don't care what the stopwatch says. I like what I feel, and I think he backed it up with a 28.69.
Jeff Gordon is fastest, trying to earn another pole at Lowe's Motor Speedway. Smoke. This season. Presented by Subway. Try the tangy new Subway Tuscan Chicken Melt. The newest fresh fit choice. Subway, eat fresh. And brought to you by Polaris, the hardest working, smoothest riding off-road vehicle, now at your local dealer. And by Toyota. For the latest Toyota racing information, visit toyotaracing.com. Toyota, moving forward. Sam Hornish, winner of the Sprint Showdown, brings his Mobil 1 Dodge out. He qualified 4th in 2 of his last 3 races, Talladega and Darlington.
And Sam was 23rd quickest. He was the 3rd quickest Dodge. We only had really 1 Dodge that showed any good speed in practice, and that was Casey Kane in the 9 car. And Sam runs a 29.03, puts him 4th.
Another one and done. I think your guys all realize from practice just not any speed in that second lap. The tires give up that much time and grip.
Plus, they got to see Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s second lap, and that kind of gives you the indication.
Yeah, and a lot of the drivers probably said, thank you, Dale Jr. Now I don't have to run the second lap.
Denny Hamlin getting ready, waiting his turn. Matt Kenseth on track. Kenseth, the R&L Carriers Ford, will be competing in his 10th 600. He won it in 2000. Started second row here in 05. But he's our most recent pole winner. Finished 10th at Darlington. Moved up to 10th place in the points. And he was the fastest Ford in practice.
Yeah, I never thought, at Darlington we'd see a new track record. The track had been a year old since a couple years old since it had been surfaced. But they came down there with a new tire and picked that bad boy right up.
I read a little trivia the other day that there's 3 drivers. Oh boy, Matt gets way up the hill.
In bad shape right there.
And that would kill this lap, and if he wanted to even run a second lap, it would kill that one. But I was reading the other day where the 17 number has been to victory lane in NASCAR, the top series, by 3 different drivers. Well, obviously we know this is one.
We know this is the other.
So who's the third one?
Pearson.
That's it. David Pearson, Darrell Waltrip, Matt Kenseth.
Yeah, I wanted that number. When I came into the sport, I took number 95 because that's what they gave me. But my pick was the number 17 because as a young driver, David Pearson was my hero.
Well, all I know is the guy that was so strong in the All-Star race the other night, we're going to probably have to watch him come from the back on Sunday night.
He likes to do that.
Matt Kenseth did pick up 4 100ths on his second lap. There you go. Brian Vickers fastest at the moment. It's a Chevy Toyota front row, but only 6 cars have made their qualifying runs. Now here is Paul Menard. He was the 3rd fastest Ford in practice in this Johns Mansville Menard's Ford. He has 5 nationwide starts here. He's 33rd in the standings. It's his first time here in Ford, and he's looking for his first top 15 start at Lowe's Motor Speedway.
You know, I know you said he's 33rd in the standings, but so much of that came from the start of the year. When you look back over the last few races, this little race team's been solid. You go back to Darlington a couple of weeks ago, they finished 15th. They've had some decent runs lately, but it takes a while to overcome 2 or 3 bad runs.
Plus, I think he's been running pretty good in the Nationwide Series too, and I think that's just laps that are helping this guy.
Well, he's got work to do from lap 1, but he's going to be one and done, 7th out of the 7.
Steve?
With Jeff Gordon, Mike, and the early draw didn't help you much, but are you pleased with the lap?
I'm very pleased with the lap. I feel like, you know, from practice to right there, I feel like all the guys, Steve and all the guys on this DuPont Chevrolet made some great adjustments. Really got through 3 and 4 good, which is where we were struggling in practice. Left a little bit out there, I feel like, in 1 and 2. You know, the draw might hurt us a little bit. All we can do is, you know, get the best out of it right now with this draw. And, I mean, it's a good lap for right now, but I definitely think some guys are going to go quite a bit faster later.
Back feels okay, Jeff?
Back feels great right now. You know, I've been just making 1-lap runs today. And actually the other night, you know, Charlotte's just not a place that puts a lot of load on my back. If I'm on the brakes hard, then yes. But when we get the car right, don't need a lot of brakes. We had it right the other night.
All right, thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Now, he needed brakes. He just needed a good brake because he had a fast car in that 10-lap shootout. Just this guy's looking good, too.
Yeah, Joey Logano last week finished 5th in the sprint showdown. Got the fan vote into the All-Star race. And there was some question this week because they brought 2 cars to the gas pumps, his and Allmendinger's, as to how the decision was made. Well, Logano was the fans' choice, but they bring the second car in the voting there. If Logano doesn't pass tech, if the car is not able to run the race, then the alternate is right there ready to go. So Logano the fan vote, Allmendinger second. That's how that worked out.
Yeah.
Joey ends up 3rd with a 28.90, almost 187 miles an hour average.
Good run.
Very good. Speaking of good run, very good.
Tony Stewart.
Profitable.
Now Logano's birthday is Sunday, race days. Tony Stewart's birthday was yesterday. Probably won't be happy if I mention that he's twice as old as Joey Logano, but that still puts him a young 38.
Well, you'll have to do the math. I just know Joey will be 19 on Sunday. So
yeah, smokes 38.
This is not the same car that he won the $1 million with, but that was their plan all along. You know, Chad Knaus has been telling me it's quite a challenge, even if you go to victory lane and you have no issues, to bring the same car back 2 weeks in a row because of all the criteria you go through with that claw that goes down on the car with the templates.
Well, Matt Kenseth couldn't do it. They finished 2nd in the All-Star race with a car that Matt said was great for long runs here. So why couldn't they bring it back? Like you said, it takes too long to turn that car around and get it ready to race again.
There's teams that brought it back, but it's a tall order.
I don't think he's going to be real pleased with that little run right there.
Probably not.
I think they were expecting more out of that.
29.06 puts him 7th out of 9.
Well, Stewart was 13th in practice. I don't think he'll end up 13th when the night's over.
Don't believe so.
Tony Raines getting ready to roll as Denny Hamlin comes on track.
Now, just as soon as I said that's not the same car that Tony Stewart brought back, this is the same car that Denny Hamlin raced the other night in the All-Star race.
That thing was wobbling there in the middle of the corner.
Denny doesn't have a win yet this year, but he has 4 top 10s and 4 more top 15s. He's 5th in the standings with a very consistent season.
This was a really good car in practice, but I think he lost a lot of time in the middle of 1 and 2. Looked like the car, when it landed, as they say, got just a little twitchy with him.
Well, he lands right there just in front of his teammate. Joey Logano ends up 3rd at a 28.89.
Gordon Brian Vickers remained fastest as Kevin Harvick will be next.
You know, Mike, Larry, I just don't know with these guys one and done the way they are. I don't know if we're ever going to get the track always shaded tonight or not, because got quite a bit of sun still glaring down on turn 3 over there. And turn 2 a little bit. I don't know if we're going to get the sunset in time to see the track covered up or not.
Yeah, actually, really half the track is still in sun, turn 2 and turn 3.
Kevin Harvick started 6th here last fall, but he has only 2 top 10 starts in 2009. Might be on the verge of another one. 28.99 is 5th quickest for the Shell Pennzoil Chevy.
Pretty good up off what it has been.
Well, that's a big improvement from practice.
They need to write that down. I think that's the first time I've heard him say pretty good about anything.
That's a brand new car that they just barely finished to get out here.
Steve.
With Joey Logano, his teammate Denny Hamlin just did nudge him out of the 3rd position. Tell us about your qualifying run.
I just screwed up. I don't know what I was thinking. I got out of a Nationwide car and just drove into 1 too shallow. It's completely my fault. I thought I had a lot better Home Depot Toyota than that. And the bright side is at least I got a better car than that. So I'm happy about that. We'll see what we can do in happy hour and see if we can get the car a little bit better. But we'll see where that ends up. I'm sure it ain't going to be that good, but we'll have to see.
Thank you, Joey.
Thanks.
Well, still top 5.
You know, Darrell, to listen to his interview, to watch his in-car camera shots versus back about 3 months ago, there's a different person, a different driver standing there.
A little more confident now than he was a few months ago. And the other thing he said is getting out of that Nationwide car and getting right in this Cup car. And they are 2 totally different animals. I'm surprised that more guys don't complain about that.
Whoa. How about that turkey? That's the Wild Turkey Federation #1 for Martin Truex, and he is 3rd.
Every time you say turkey, where's Hammond?
Oh, no. He's not coming up next. Jamie Mack is. Jamie McMurray, the Erlen Industrial Tools Ford, finished 9th in the All-Star race, qualified 3rd at California and Atlanta, and of course this is the scene of his Cup victory, subbing for Sterling Marlin.
Yeah, this is where everybody went. This is Jamie McMurray after that night.
And then we knew that was 2002.
Yep. And it wasn't that he just led a few laps at the end. He led a lot of laps at the end of that race that night.
Led 96 of them in all. Now he was the 5th fastest Ford in practice.
Well, our Fords, I know the Fords were looking good in Nationwide Series practice, but they're not looking good here. The 3 that's qualified are the 3 slowest cars.
So it was really tight.
Matt?
Mike, definitely new looks for Jimmy Johnson this weekend. New looking beam design helmet, new paint scheme on the race car, new look for yourself. Your teammate Jeff Gordon went early and ran a 69. What do you think it's going to take as we see the temperatures continue to drop to knock him on?
It's hard to say. I mean, I think last week, I think we ran a 40 or something, 30 or 40, I heard. So I think that we've been ahead of pace from where we were last week by a couple tenths, so it might be down in the 20s. That's what we're shooting for and hoping for. I don't know if that's really going to happen or not. Jeff was strong in practice, so and I know that's a good lap in the 83s up there. I'm going to get in and hope for the best. I don't know what it's going to do. And it's so hard because you pick up so much speed going into qualifying that you're usually shocked when you make the lap that you had to have a strip 1 and then 2 what the lap time is. So I hope I'm at the top.
Your teammate's on the track, Mark Martin now. Mike, we'll see what he does.
Mark Martin, when he first hopped into Jack Roush's Ford in 1988, he ripped off 8 or 12 straight top 8 qualifying runs here at Lowe's Motor Speedway, but 2 of those were poles.
Well, let me tell you, when he showed up on the scene back in the 80s, early 80s, when he first showed up, he could qualified on the pole a couple of times in with his own car.
Boy, how about 4 1/1000ths of a second behind his teammate Jeff Gordon? And Darrell, I think the difference was just right over there where the car took a set in 3 and 4.
The difference was I saw sparks out of Mark's car. I didn't see any out of Jeff's. That little bit just knocks that speed out of it.
Mark Martin fastest. Here is Reed Sorensen racing for the Air Force. Going to see a lot of military-themed cars this Memorial Day weekend here at Lowe's Motor Speedway. Reed has 1 top 10 start at this racetrack. Let's check with Steve Burns.
Mike, with Denny Hamlin. Denny, saw you debriefing with your crew chief Mike Ford, and you're using your hands a lot to talk. Tell us about your lap.
Yeah, I had my hands full. It's definitely not the lap we were looking for. We felt like we could be a little bit more competitive than that. But our whole FedEx freight team, or FedEx Express team, I mean, we had a good car in practice. We really tried to concentrate on qualifying today and just you know, we thought the track was going to tighten up a little bit. We didn't realize, I think, that the sun was going to be out as much as it was. It just didn't get that balance where it needed to be. But, you know, we came from the back at the All-Star race, and I think we can do it again, the 600. We're not going to be in the back by any means, but, you know, we'll be probably in the teens somewhere.
Thank you, Denny.
Thanks.
Reed Sorensen in practice was kind of deep in the field, 37th, and he is 15th of 15 after that qualifying run.
Yeah, definitely. Even though he picked up 3/10, that still wasn't the qualifying lap they were looking for.
You know, we were talking to Jimmy Johnson there a second ago. I just want to say, we were at the Speedway Children's Charity Dinner last night. He and his wife were there. There is no young man in that garage area that's any finer gentleman than Jimmy Johnson. He is a classy guy. Just last night, he just carries himself so well, handles himself so well, and people were giving him grief about his haircut and about his beard, but I don't give him any grief about being a fine young man.
Agreed. Casey Mears in 2007 in this race became the 5th driver to score his first Cup win in the 600. First one to do it, May 1961, David Pearson.
I'm leading.
Yeah, you talk about Lowe's Motor Speedway or Darlington, pretty much the name Pearson is going to come up on a pretty regular basis. And I think we kind of forget 2 years ago, his crew chief was the same guy that went to Victory Lane last Saturday night in the All-Star race, Darian Grubb. You can hear him say he was pretty loose down in 1 and 2, and I think the stopwatch reflects it, 29-23.
That is 15th of 16. Looks like he's going to play 2.
Casey was 28th quickest in practice at a 29.62, so he's picked up about 4/10. We've only had 2 cars run a second lap. Dale Earnhardt Jr., Matt Kenseth. We know why Matt did, because he got so out of shape on lap 1.
Same thing.
About the same speed. Yep.
Just not there.
Coming up, Tony Raines, Kurt Busch, Jimmy Johnson. The season premiere of Wrecked, Life in the Crash Lane. Did we have to pay for that prop? O'Hare Towing is on the scene to face any challenge in the city of Chicago. Special time tonight, 9:30, right after qualifying, right here on Speed.
I think it's pretty coincidental that the whole car's crashed except right where the decal is. That's luck right there now, you got to admit.
Rutledge must have been involved. Here's Tony Raines. He has 11 nationwide starts here, qualified second in that series in 2003. And he has a top 10 Cup finish here when he was driving for Hall of Fame racing in 2006 in the fall race.
There's nothing any prettier than a car, and particularly a really fast car, when they hold that thing out wide going into 3 over there, and then just turn it to the bottom and get that apex down there at the bottom of the corner, and man, that's a pretty looking lap.
16th for Raines in the Taco Bell Chevy.
And we know this is a car that John Andretti drives, and we certainly want to wish John Andretti awesome luck up there in the Indianapolis 500 on Sunday.
Heck, I think he'll race great after going through all that qualifying mess.
Unless he's out of tires.
He might run out of tires, yeah.
Steve?
With Mark Martin, Mike, he just got a big handshake from Rick Hendrick, and heard you say that the car was awesome. You just needed to add a little driver to it.
Yeah, that was all race car right there, thanks to Alan and this Kellogg's CarQuest team. I didn't bring anything to the table, doggone it. You know, I drove the car and got what the car wanted to give, but man, I could have got some more if I'd have just done it. I just didn't do it right. You know, it was one of those laps where after it was all said and done with, I didn't take enough chances. I didn't slide enough. I slipped a little, but I needed to be slipping more.
Yeah, but it pays on Sunday, right?
You know, it's a fast race car, and I'm having a ball, and you know, we've already got a couple poles this year, so we might, you know, look up and get another 1 or 2 this year the way this thing's running.
It's all luck. Thanks, Mark.
Well, his teammate Jeff Gordon doesn't have a pole yet this year, but he has 2 outside poles. Kurt Busch, the Miller Lite number 2, qualified second for his first 2.5-mile track races, Las Vegas and Atlanta. 1 in Atlanta, leading 234 laps. 6 top 10 finishes this year.
I honestly believe Kurt's going to be pretty happy with that first lap, and the reason I talked to him in between practice and qualifying, he said, Larry, this race car, and this is the car they dominated Atlanta with, he said, this race car has been evil in practice. They picked up over 3/4 of a second from what he practiced.
That's a race car. That's not maybe it's not a qualifying car. It's a race car. You know, it might get a little crowded up here at the top of the sheet with the next car that goes out for the Hendrick boys.
Kurt Busch is 7th. Second lap fell off about 2/10.
You're right, though. We got all Hendrick front row with Jeff Gordon and Mark Martin right now.
And here comes a guy that says he can run a 20. That'll wake him up if he does. I thought the Poe would be a 30-something. That's what I thought it would be. But I didn't think about all these guys taking one lap either, so I don't know if we're going to get the track there or not.
Jimmy Johnson in the Lowe's Chevrolet has raced here 15 times in the Cup Series. He has led at least 10 laps 14 of those 50 times. He's led more than 100 laps 3 times. He stunk up the place once. He's led more laps here than any active driver, and he has 2 poles.
Look at that thing, Hunt, though. I just down that back straightaway, smooth. He's playing with the steering wheel. He's not fighting with it. He's just tweaking it through the corner.
Daryl, he was on the pole till he got to turn 3, and he lost it over in 3 and 4. Right now, though, we've got Hendrick 1, 2, 3. He's 3rd quickest. Real quick story about that paint scheme, Mike. You know, they for a number of years at the Coca-Cola 600 ran the Power of Pride paint scheme.
Right.
They didn't run it last year. There's Chad Canals. He said after the race last year, a serviceman approached him at Pocono and said, "Why did you guys not run that paint scheme? We look forward to that paint scheme." This is not necessarily called the Power of Pride, but it's a paint scheme that Chad Canals designed with the help of the people at Lowe's. Chad's dad's race car used to be painted very similar to that, and as you can see, it's very patriotic.
Yep, up at Rockford Speedway in Illinois, where he's from, and they wanted a special paint scheme, and nice Lowe's promotion for Memorial Day weekend for anybody who has been in the service.
12,548 names of Lowe's employees that are either veterans or they're in the reserve or actually own that race car.
Wow.
Well, there's a good run up off of 2.
Good run looking right here on our tracker. Ryan Newman in this 39 car.
Carried a lot of speed out there, and this guy knows how to get around this joint.
7 poles here at Lowe's Motor Speedway.
He's locked onto one right now, looks to me like.
No question on this one. This is solid as a rock.
Boom. Newman. 28.65, top of the board.
make that 4, Hendrick.
Have you noticed how common it has been to become the old man since Mark's been around? Everybody's an old man now.
I think the common denominator is Tony Gibson, the crew chief.
Might be. Might be.
They had it all going. Semis, live animals. It's like that term of a perfect storm.
This season, get hooked all over again. Wrecked. Season premiere tonight, 9:30 p.m. Eastern, only on Speed.
Line, where you can find half-price hotels every day. And by night at the museum, Battle of the Smithsonian. Tomorrow, only in theaters. Bobby Labonte, the Ask.com Ford.
He was actually pretty good in practice. He was the 2nd quickest forward, 15th quickest overall.
He has 16 top 10 starts here, including 3 poles.
Got a couple of wins here, driving for Joe Gibbs Racing at 18, and this is going to be right on top of a top 10 run so far.
Yeah, I think he was pretty happy in practice with this car, actually.
Well, he is by far the fastest Ford so far.
You know, Joey Logano's halfway to Tony Stewart's age. Ryan Newman is halfway to David Pearson's pole total here at this racetrack. And that's before today. 10th for Bobby Labonte. Nice run of 28.95.
Yeah, the good news is you have 8 poles if you win this one. The bad news is there's a guy that has double that.
Yeah, but here, that's all good news. But, you know, Ryan Newman's finished 21st or worse in the last 6 races here.
Wow.
So qualifying on the pole needs to turn that into some good finishes.
Great run for Newman.
Carl Edwards in deep thought there.
And here's Michael, who has 2 front row starts and 2 nationwide starts here. This will be his 48th race at Lowe's, and he's run almost half of the 600s to date. This will be his 24th.
Here's what's cool. He has 736 career Sprint Cup Series start, but his first career start here was in 1985. He drove for Dick Bear. He qualified 24th, broke a transmission, and guess who won the race that day?
Let me think. We're the only two brothers that's ever won the All-Star race. Was it his brother?
It was ODW.
It was, yeah.
4 top 5 finishes here for Michael.
Not going to be a very good qualifying run, though, I don't think.
No, he's not going to be happy with that. Had a great day up at his shop yesterday, fan appreciation day. They had him lined up all the way out the highway, they said.
Wow.
Got a great operation up here, great shop, beautiful
It
place.
is the coolest place there, Michael Waltrip's Racing World, up there in Huntersville.
Yep.
Matt?
Mike Carl Edwards, you mentioned he was deep in thought. Before that, had a long debrief with crew chief Bob Osborne. So, your 20th in practice, what are your thoughts? Get ready to roll off here.
I've got no clue what's going to happen here. We ran about a 29.50. I think that'd be good for last right now. So, you know, the track's sped up. It looks like everybody's running faster. It's just either the car will do it or it won't. It's a fine line here. You know, looking at the times, everybody's real close. So hopefully this Aflac Fusion will run well. Might be right up there, you know, up top, because even though it's a long race, I think starting position's going to be big.
Steve? That with Ryan Newman, who ran a 28.65, good enough for the fastest lap here at Lowe's Motor Speedway. Ryan, is that good enough for your 8th pole here?
I don't know. We've beat half of them as of right now, so it was a good run for the U.S. Army Chevrolet. But there's a few guys left that were really good in practice. We'll have to see what kind of changes they made, and they got the better draw. So we beat a lot of good cars there. We beat the guys that were already quick in practice. So we'll see where that puts us for the race.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
A.J. Allmendinger, the Hunt Brothers Pizza Dodge, his 40th in practice, and he's going to tail the field right now with a 29.48.
That was one ugly lap. He had his hands full.
Thing looked like it was snaking around the racetrack.
Ryan Newman, Jeff Gordon, top of the chart. David Stremme, Clint Boyer coming up. As we move toward knockout qualifying after the top 35, Stremme will be the 24th driver on the track. He led 25 laps in last week's Sprint Showdown and finished 3rd in his Penske Dodge. 11th at Las Vegas and Richmond, his best starts of the year. And his last top 10 Cup finish came right here in October of 07.
This lap started off pretty good, but by the time he got to the middle of 1 and 2, it started to go south on him.
Yeah, you know, I just like to see somebody use that high line over there off of turn 2 one time and see what kind of time they produce.
Well, Darrell, it's funny that the 2 trickiest parts of this racetrack, the 2 sharpest turns, the exit of turn 2 and the entrance to turn 3, are the parts of the track that are still in sunshine and everything else is shaded.
Yeah, you're right. And that makes a huge difference.
19th for Stremme.
Yeah, he did have an awfully good run in that showdown the other night, and I know he was happy to finish 3rd, but obviously that was not quite enough to transfer into the All-Star race.
A little debrief right here. Ryan Newman, Tony Gibson.
I would say what we just saw Robbie Gordon doing, probably had a scanner and probably listening to drivers' comments, possibly after their qualifying.
Nah, I don't think so. I think it was an iPod. Yeah, I think he's...
I've never seen an iPod with headphones that big.
Well, you know Robbie, he's always got some kind of new widget or gidget or whatever he calls all those things.
Clint Boyer started 5th here last fall, and his best start in the spring race is 15th. He was 2nd in the standings after 5 races. He's dropped to 13th now. He has 1 top 10 start this year, 5th at Talladega.
Well, this is going to be a far cry better than what he practiced, because he, in practice earlier, was 42nd out of the 47 cars, and he goes to 13th at right at a 29 flat.
And pretty close to what his teammate Kevin Harvick ran, within 100th of a second. All from Hendrick Motorsports, or at least powered by and chassis provided by Hendrick Motorsports. Leading the group as Jeff Burton comes on track. Burton has 3 victories here. and one outside pole start. That came in the 99 Coke 600 when in Jack Roush's 99 Ford he led half the race and drove from second on the grid to victory lane.
You know, Larry, this, I think it just goes to show how jacked up everybody had their stuff last weekend for that All-Star race.
It really does, doesn't it?
Because these lap times are nowhere close to what we saw these guys run over here last week. And I know a lot, and I said this earlier, a lot of guys came over here with a lot of steam. Yeah, you lost. Just plowed up off the corner for him. You see that.
He'll have his work cut out for him. The guy that won the race the last time we were here back in October, Jeff Burton.
You know why he won the race? Rained out qualifying.
Started up near the front.
Like fourth, I think it was.
He did start fourth. The last time he started this far back, he finished fourth at this track.
Just when you qualify back like that, you have to use so much different pitch strategy to finally get yourself in, get some decent track position. Takes you the whole race to do it.
Carl Edwards, now here is a team that needs a rebound. Look at those finishes in the last 3 races. Now the last time he was here, he started second, but they finished 33rd, and that was one of the 2 races, Talladega being the other. That probably kept Carl from being at the head table in New York City last year.
Yeah, and who would have thought, the way they finished the year up, that he would have this kind of start to this season? I mean, he was the preseason favorite to win the championship.
9 wins.
9 wins.
I mean, his best start this year, 9th at Darlington.
Yeah, he's only 7 points to the good right now inside the top 12. Jack Roush is owner there on the left. Carl ends up 10th, so he's the fastest forward.
In the last 10 races on 1.5-mile tracks, Carl, was that Ric Flair? Carl has the most race wins, 3. Kyle Busch talking it over.
Buzzy Ruderman.
Little body English there. Out getting into the corner.
He's getting some tips from Kyle there. Kyle's probably going to run a modified race somewhere that we don't know about. With Buzzy, probably.
I don't know. There's one coming at Bristol.
Well, he might be in it.
I wonder. Here is Elliott Sadler in the Best Buy Dodge. Elliott is the track record holder, 193 miles an hour. That was set in October of 2005.
Now, we talked about the deal up at Michael Waltrip Racing yesterday. Tomorrow, of course, there's no activity here at Lowe's Motor Speedway. And up at Richard Petty Motorsports in Statesville, they got their big annual fan day up there at the race shop. It's going to be a pretty good run for Elliott. He's working on possibly becoming the fastest Dodge. And he will, 9th.
Well, you know, ladies, talking about all these fan appreciation days. Our little shop right here behind us on Hudspeth Road.
Tell Casey it's a lot of grip out here. I don't know if the guys can tell him in time.
A lot of grip. You know, we have a few of my race cars on display, but it's been packed. We've had more fans through our shop this week than we've had in any other year.
I know why. It's all about Digger.
Oh, Digger. Yeah, they want to buy Digger. They think he's held up over there somewhere.
Let's check with Matt.
Kyle Busch is getting ready to climb into his race car. You saw him talking with the legend, the 1997 Hall of Famer Buzzy Ruderman. Now I'm taking from your conversation with the legend that you cost David Ruderman a lot of money.
No, I didn't cost David Ruderman any money. Buzzy does.
I heard talk about maybe a new motor or something.
Yeah, he come up to me. He goes, "Man, I've been doing some stuff with my modified, and I got this in the right front, and that in the left front, and you know my rear springs like that. I got so much bite. The car turns so good." He goes, "Now it just feels slow. I need a motor." You know, have you talked to David about that? I goes, "Yeah, I bust him every time, man. I need to get some motor." And I'm like, "Well, I don't know if Toyota makes a wet sump motor." David and I are both thinking about that, but we'll have to see if we can't get Buzzy hooked up.
Well, that was the Legends car. What about your car for tonight?
I don't know. We'll see. Last year's on the stop, but it's going to take a 50 to get the pole. I don't know if we've got a 50 in it. That'd be a second from practice, so that's a long way to tote. But we'll see what the M&M's Camry has in store. It's a long 600 miles, so it doesn't really matter where you start. They just need to get a good pit selection.
All right, thanks, Kyle.
Yep.
You know, I think Casey Kane may have had even a little bit better lap than he ended up with. If he hadn't about spun out coming out of turn 4, watch this thing. Digging, digging, digging. Watch his hands. Digging, digging, digging. Whoops. Diggy, diggy.
The hands don't lie, do
nope.
they?
When you got to go to the right, not good.
And he ended up 5th. if he lost Darrell even a 1/10 of a second, that would have put him on the front row, and I'd guess he lost more than that.
I'd say so.
Great run for Kane, who started front row here 1 year ago and won it, ending a 52-race winless streak. Now here's Greg Biffle racing his 3M Ford for the American Red Cross this weekend. 4 top 5 starts this season.
He's always pretty good here.
This is going to be a good run. He's we don't even have a Ford in the top 10, and he won't quite get there either. 11th, 28.91. You know, I'm not sure I agree with Kyle. I don't think you're going to have to get to 50 if you want to sit on this pole with the cars I see that's left.
I think the 00's got a shot, and certainly the 18 does, and who knows about
42
Juan might have a shot.
Now Biffle lost all his speed, looked like coming off turn number 4. Thought he could improve on lap 2. Our tracker says no.
No, he's getting his engine a little too hot too. See that steam coming out of that overflow there on the right front corner. That's not good.
No, he lost about a 1/10.5 on that second lap, so he was right. There was some left on the table. He just couldn't get there. Brian Newman, Jeff Gordon making an all Chevy front 4. As Robbie Gordon comes out. Now he's 34th in owner points in his Jim Beam Camry, painted up on the nose like an Air Force fighter there as we celebrate Memorial Day weekend.
Now there you go. He took that. No, he's doing that on purpose. That's that line they were using in the race last week. I wanted to see if that was would that work, and apparently won't.
You know, Mike, a couple of neat things. You talked about the paint scheme. Is what that paint scheme actually is. It's Operation Homefront. What that is a nonprofit organization dedicated to providing emergency assistance and morale to U.S. troops and their families. And Robbie on Sunday is going to have an honorary pit crew member, John Savage from Asheboro, North Carolina. And he was a former NCO in the U.S. Army Special Operations Command. And he served his country for 22 years and got his retirement from service due to combat-related injuries. He's going to be in the pits kind of as an honorary pit crew member with Robbie and the group on Sunday.
I think you got to be here Sunday for the pre-race show.
Yes.
I hear it's going to be probably the biggest one they've ever had here.
Wow. We'll see. Robbie is 26th. Let's see. We've had the invasion of Grenada here. We've had Robosaurus.
Carbosaurus.
Yeah, Carosaurus. We've had Humpysaurus.
Yeah.
We've had school bus jumping.
Oh yeah.
Over a fleet of motorcycles, or
Well, I was given privy to the fact that just be ready for what's going to happen here Sunday. Okay. Bring your earplugs.
Gonna blow something up.
Oh baby.
David Reagan in the UPS Ford of Jack Roush. 32nd in points. He was 12th at this time last year. Only 2 top 15s this season, Daytona and Talladega.
His dad's going to be a really good friend of yours before long, Mike.
Oh, gosh.
They're going to love you.
Look,
yeah.
Scott, who just turned 10, is only going to test a Bandolero car, Darrell. He's going to go to Bandolero school. That's as far as we've gotten with this program.
I think that's what I said about 10 years ago.
Yeah. Well, that's what you always tell the mom and your wife. Honey, we're just trying it out.
We're just trying this out.
And the thing you'll learn around Gay, never talk about miles per hour. Talk in seconds.
Yeah,
Never talk miles per hour.
That's right. That was the first question for Mom. How fast does it go?
Oh, it's
never
fast.
mind.
Yeah, it's a Bandolero, for
yeah,
goodness
it's just
sake.
a Bandolero. Right. Yeah. It's only $6,000.
Oh, yeah, that's a cheap race car right
to
there.
Start.
And then, of course, you got to have backup.
I'm working on the sponsor contract now,
Spare
Darrell. Should I send it to you or to Van?
Scott's got to have
tires,
a motor coach. Get a motor
hauler.
coach driver.
A motor coach. David Reagan is 24th.
Crew.
Oh, my God.
Uniforms.
3 more cars, and then we move to knockout qualifying.
Now, normally you would say, here comes David Ruderman, and Daddy needs a new pair of shoes, or Baby needs a new pair of shoes.
Yep.
Tonight it's Daddy needs a new motor.
Daddy needs a motor.
Better get up on it.
For his modified. David got his first cup pole at Texas, finished 11th. He has 6 top 10 starts this season.
Well, he was 12th quickest in practice. Pretty good shape down to the middle of 1 and 2. I mean, he's still working on a good run. Look at that thing come down that back straightaway.
It's kind of what I wanted to see. If you get that good run down the back when you run that high line. Now, this may be overdoing it here.
Yeah, you could see the car just lost speed as he went up the racetrack.
You can get away with that off the 2 over there because apparently there's a lot of grip. But 3 and 4, you got to ride the white line.
A little bit of shade now in turn number 2. and the middle of turn 3 on, but David clocks in 15th.
28.97.
Sorry about that, man.
So we now have 17 cars that's running the 28s, and we have got a ton of them in the 90s. You got Joey Logano that's 9th at a 28.90. We got Clint Boyer that's 18th at a 29 flat.
Disappointed look on that feller's face.
Yeah, Rudeman had a potential for a top 5 run, but if the car doesn't get through 3 and 4,
no,
hard to get back.
I like the way he came off too, though.
Yes,
you saw that straightaway speed pickup.
Great,
but just couldn't hold it on the bottom in 3 and 4. Now Larry and I watched this car in practice, Kyle here, and he had his hands full. He ran a quick lap, but Larry, what'd you tell me? Maybe when the sun goes down,
that it will tighten up a little bit, gain some grip.
Well, most all of the important parts of the racetrack are now in shade.
Got through there pretty darn good, I have to say.
And he kept the speed up off the corner. Good shape halfway down the back straightaway.
Got to get through 3 and 4, though. If he can hook her in here now.
Pole winner at Las Vegas.
Oh, he's down on it, but it's going to push up off the corner. Is that killing his speed?
Not bad.
It's definitely losing speed. It's not going to get there.
It got it, Larry. It was there until that.
Killed him late exit. He's going to be second at a 28.68, right between Ryan Newman and Jeff Gordon.
He had it all the way, but it started pushing up the hill.
And listen, the crowd goes wild. Is it because he ran so well, or because he did not knock the Army car off the pole?
Because he ran
well.
well.
Deserved it, sorry.
But he was at late exit, and it all happened kind of back in turn 3 and 4.
Here he goes down into 3. He looks good right here. Got late entry down to the bottom,
And he's still number 1
right now
here.
Wide open back in the throttle, and you can see the thing. Just see the wheels, see the front wheels wiggle a little bit. He had to fight it up the hill just a tad, and that killed that teeny bit of speed he needed.
And he misses. Yep, 3/100ths of a second is all that separates him from Ryan Newman. Now, don't count out the target car, because Juan Montoya had a very strong practice session. He was the 3rd fastest Chevy, which made him 4th overall. And he won the pole at Talladega and was 4th at Atlanta.
The tracker's jumping around because all those times are right on top of each other, right where it looks like he's going to be about a 90-something.
We knew he was going to run the high line through 3 and 4. There was no question. We watched him do it in practice.
Yeah, it's all
good run for him, but not pole material. 8th quickest. Juan sitting 14th in the points, just 16 points out of that top 12. 11 races down and 15 to go to Richmond.
The former Indy and Monaco winner will make his 85th Cup start here on Sunday. You talk about the 3 big races of Memorial Day weekend. Montoya has won 2 of the 3 and is looking for the 3rd. Here are the drivers in knockout qualifying in their in the order that they practiced, led by Joe Nemechek. Now here is the Mayfield car. Jeremy Mayfield has turned the ownership reins over to his wife and J.J. Yaley, formerly the full-time driver of Hall of Fame racer and a former USAC champ. Going to try to put this car on the show. They just were not quick in practice.
And conditions are now getting closer and closer to optimum. I mean, turn 3 is about in shade. Turn 2's in shade. We got a little bit of sunlight on the back straightaway, but that's about it.
32nd. That's well, that's a little better than they practiced, Larry.
Yeah,
it's quite a bit
definitely.
better.
But I think they're going to have to wait this one out. Yeah, 29-33. And I think we will see most of the go-home cars, especially if you don't run at least in the low 29s or 28s. You have to run a second lap. You have to go down swinging.
Well, that's it. Your team, your crew, your crew chief, everybody. Why didn't you run the second one? It might have been better. You got to know for sure.
And that second lap is slower by 0.3. Steve.
Kyle Busch, 2nd overall. Mike, Kyle, I heard you say that you messed up just a little bit in 3 and 4.
Yeah, 1 and 2 was really good. Drove it through there nice, and didn't want to screw up the lap getting down into 3 and 4. So when we arced it in earlier today, we couldn't get it turned all the way down to the bottom and get to the white line. So I shorted the corner a little bit and messed it up. So couldn't get back to the gas, had to pinch it too much in the center, and just wasn't able to get a good run up off the corner. It's probably where it all lost. But still these M&M's Toyota guys did a great job today. Steve worked hard and made some good calls, and we tried to make a balance what we could qualify with, and wish we would have been on the pole 2 years in a row, but it's hard to beat Flying Ryan, so we'll take that, I guess, and see what we can get here on Saturday in practice for the 600.
Good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Mike, what was your best guess on them leaving the walls gold the way they are?
My guess would be yes for the golden anniversary of Lowe's Motor Speedway.
You're exactly right. That's why they left them gold, because, you know, we were saying they're yellow, but actually they're gold.
Well, to me, they look like they've actually changed color a little bit from last weekend. Last weekend, they were yellow. They have a goldish tint. Whoever's texting you, can you text them back and ask them that?
Well, they're definitely. Here's one thing I know: they're not yellow; they're gold.
Here's one thing I know: Scott Speed is fast. Man, he picked up from practice. He is 15th overall. Won't be long before he locks himself into this field. 47 cars set to take time. Bill Elliott has the champion's provisional if needed, so we know Elliott will make the show, and that means that there are 7 spots available in the field. Dave Blaney hopeful of one of those. So is David Gilliland, you see in the background, as knockout qualifying rolls on.
You know, Mike, we've still got a number of cars to go out to qualify, and so we're not ready to by no means hand Ryan Newman a pole yet. But when you think about this guy, Ryan Newman, with 43 poles, but it's been over a year since he sat on a pole. Phoenix in spring of 2008.
Tell you what, he could have easily been in Victory Circle Saturday night.
Oh, yes.
If he isn't getting tangled up down here with Kyle and Jeff Gordon, I think he had the car to win the race if he could have gotten by those two guys.
Bill Elliott will make his 59th Sprint Cup start here. His first race was here in 1976. Driving for his family-owned race team, Elliott has 4 poles here, and he drives for the Wood Brothers. As we talked at the top of the show, the Wood Brothers car, a Mercury or a Ford, sat on the front row for 15 straight races here between 1972 and 79.
Tell you what, she's not going to be a pole run, but she's going to be a solid run for Awesome Bill in this 21 car, 9th quickest.
Very good job.
He's in. Well, we know he's in the show.
Yeah.
He won't need that champion's provisional.
David Hatter there, his crew chief, is just doing a fabulous job with the program that they're on this year. I like what they're doing.
There's no question.
Not good enough?
I'd say so.
And don't forget, Bill's right in there with Mark Martin. Age-wise.
But I think with this group going back to a limited schedule, really dotting their I's and crossing their T's, they're only racing maybe once or twice a month. I think it's really paying off.
And look at that. That's a happy bunch of campers up on top of that truck. Yeah, baby. Lynn and Eddie Wood, David Hatter with the headset on.
Yeah, Bill is 53 years old, and he's going to become the 7th driver in Cup history with 800 or more starts. His career began at Rockingham, North Carolina, February '76.
Well, there's Mark up there in 4th at 50 years old, and Bill right there in 9th at 53 years old. So I just tell you, I think this car complements a driver with a lot of experience, and particularly experience in the older cars that we ran several years ago. I just think this car has that older car feel that we all were kind of accustomed to.
Scott Riggs up next, trying to make his 175th career start. Shea Trucking off Long Island, where car owner Tommy Baldwin is from, making their first appearance as an associate sponsor on this car for Riggs.
He beats Yaley, but they're not going to be able to breathe very easy for a little bit. 29-27. That puts him 3rd of the 4 go-or-go homers that's been out so far. Scott will definitely run that second lap. Scott actually has a couple of poles here at Lowe's Motor Speedway.
Looks like he's having all his trouble getting into 3, Larry.
Yeah, they both came in 2006. That first pole, driving the number 10 Dodge, he led 90 laps that day.
Yeah, he'll slow down, but right now 33rd for this 36 car, and he was one of the go-or-go homers in practice. Mike, you and I looked at it. He's just right up on top of that fence.
Right.
You know, fast enough to get in if at practice had been qualifying, but nothing to spare.
He was quick enough if he got a great lap, and I wouldn't call that a great lap, so we'll see. Bill Elliott pretty tickled at qualifying 9th.
Is that good enough?
Oh, yeah.
Driving off into three.
Yeah, right.
How about it, Steve?
Oh, heck yeah. A lot of happy guys down here in this 21 team. Bill, you said you're glad that's over with. Why is that?
Well, I'd been so loose in practice earlier today, and they made quite a few changes on this thing, and it really helped it. I mean, it was good, man. I mean, you know, you go out there, and it's such an unknown when you leave pit road. You don't know what you got, but it worked well. I mean, I'm telling you, all these guys on the motorcraft team have done a heck of a job.
All right, thank you, Bill. 59th start at Lowe's Motor Speedway this weekend, Mike.
Yep, great run, 9th fastest.
Daryl, he's probably the only driver in this field that has driven the 3 different configurations of car. The car that we ran prior to 1981 is we got Joe Nemechek on a pretty good run here. He's going to be in the top 10, it looks like. 10th quickest for Joe, but he drove the car that we ran before 81. Then he drove the car that we run for the last 20-something years, and now this new car.
Yeah.
So 45-year-old Joe Nemechek in the Huckleberry's barbecue car, he puts it in the top 10.
There's no guys like the nighttime, you know? What is that?
That's a lot of hot air.
Hammond!
Where's Hammond?
Even Hammond wouldn't be in there. I don't like the looks of this.
No.
It's smoking and the flame went out. And
the fire's out, so out of the way.
I'm not feeling good about this ride at all.
Max Pappas trying to make his 5th Oval Track Cup race and his first NASCAR race at Lowe's Motor Speedway.
Just a little edgy getting into turn 1, but he handled it okay.
He really needs about a 29-10 or so to, I think, feel good about this run, Larry.
Like the way he's getting through 3 and 4. He's had a little issue in 1 down there, but I think it's going to come back a little bit.
I think if you can run in the teams, you will be okay. And he runs a 29-12. He's not in yet, but I'd feel pretty good about that.
I like his chances there with a 12.
Is a 12 a team?
No.
Close enough.
But it's on the right side.
I didn't want to ask, but I wasn't sure.
It's on the right side of the teens.
Max, I believe I'd give it up here, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're done.
I think that's
nice run.
I think it's going to be okay, actually.
But he's made every race he's showed up for this year.
He is his run will lock Joe Nemechek into the show. So there are 6 spots left to fill.
I think Max is one of those guys that has just fallen in love with NASCAR.
Oh, yeah.
And this and what we do and how we do it. I think he's really digging it.
And that's a pretty little solid race team he's working with.
Yeah.
Well, Mike Hillman in that group over there.
Mike Hillman has always been one of my heroes.
Now that's an interesting plea on the hood of that car. In addition to Huckleberry's Barbecue, it says buy Huckleberry's stock. Now in this economy, you don't see that kind of advice very often, especially at
You think they're talking about stock, or you think you're talking about some other kind of stock?
I have no idea.
Just curious, because I don't either. But there's a lot of stock involved in with Huckleberry. Could be livestock.
Good eating too. Good stuff.
Meanwhile, Mike Bliss attempting his 4th race of the year. He was at Atlanta, Texas, and Richmond. The former Camping World Truck Series champion, who won the nationwide race here in 04.
He's going to be in great shape.
He's
flirting with becoming the fastest of the Go-Go.
I like the way he went through 3 and 4.
Yes,
now.
7th quickest for Mike Bliss.
And I mean, he was outside the top 10 going into 3, but as you said,
man,
unlike a lot of cars,
he
picked up speed through 3 and 4.
He ran right through the middle of that turn.
Shut it down.
Yes, please.
Nice run.
James Finch goes down there, wins Talladega, and now his team is on fire. They just run good every week.
That is a great run for Mike. We got 3 of the Go homers in the top 11.
Oh, by the way, he's 44.
Yeah. Well, he just helped our average.
Yes.
We're going to average the top 10 out here when we get done.
And up next, Mike Garvey in the Quality Concrete Dodge. Now, he was 11th of the Go homers in practice. 8 will make the show. So see if Garvey can find the speed he needs.
He's just looking for a solid run.
Wow. Had it there for a minute.
Yeah, drove it in, but the law of physics took over. He struggled in practice. He was 46th quickest. Mike has attempted a fair amount of races in 2009, but so far has yet to qualify for one. don't think this lap here is going to get him in. This could be good news for Scott Speed, who actually missed the show at Darlington a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
This is going to lock Speed in, as Garvey right now is the slowest of the 43 drivers who've attempted.
You know, we only have 4 more cars qualified. Darrell, maybe I'm totally forgetting. I don't know that we have ever went through a qualifying session here and it would still be basically still daylight.
Yeah, I know. No, when those guys started doing those one and dones, everybody started doing them. That told me that this session wasn't going to last much over an hour.
Garvey's second lap is slower, so that will lock rookie Scott Speed into the show. 4 cars to go. New Subway Tuscan Chicken Melt, the newest fresh fit choice. Subway, eat fresh. And brought to you by Night at the Museum, Battle of the Smithsonian, tomorrow only in theaters. And by True Value, the tools, products, and expert advice for all your project needs. True Value, start right, start here. And it's knockout time. The bottom 4 are Max Pappas, Scott Riggs, J.J. Yaley, and Garvey. Mike Garvey, who just made his run. This is David Starr in the 06. The Ronnie Deutsch Dodge.
Yeah, he was actually the slowest car in practice. It took them a while before they even got on the racetrack for practice. They were late getting out there in that hour-and-a-half session we had earlier. And he'll have to run this second lap because he's the slowest at a 30.15.
Yeah, he's going to have to hit the afterburner to pick up that much.
This would be good news, though, for Mad Max Pappas.
Hey, did y'all watch American Idol last night? Do you think Chris was better than Adam? How would you vote?
I think Adam ought to be the new lead singer for Queen because he fits right there. I think his opportunity for stardom is very narrow, but boy, he hit his mark right there.
He's got some talent, though. Yeah. He's fun to watch.
And Chris, I thought Danny Goki should have won it all, but
well, I do too.
Oh,
I never quite figured that one out.
Nope.
But America spoke, and they were right.
You got to vote. David Starr is 44th with a 30.15. That will lock Max Pappas in. Max, you're in, buddy.
Not good to be out of the number 5.
No, you're in right now.
Shaky.
That's it. When you don't have that qualifying exemption.
Axel, you're locked in. Oh, yeah?
Yay! All right.
Thank you
Thanks
very
for
much.
passing along the good news.
Thank you.
Well, now the bottom 3, Riggs, Yaley, and Garvey. Todd Bodine, who is 45 years old, comes on the racetrack. He has a front row start and a second row start here.
And he was actually quick enough in practice that if he can pick it up like we've seen everybody else pick up, he should be in pretty good shape. But right now, not looking that good.
Larry,
coming off turn 2.
He just overdrove turn 1. Really overdrove turn 1, and it really upset the car. I think that's where he lost a lot of speed. He might be able to get some of it back.
Pretty up the racetrack there in 4 as well, Darrell.
Sounded good going by here. I thought he was carrying a lot of speed into 1, which he was, but did a little too hard.
He is the slowest of 45 right now. Needs to get past the green mark on the ticker.
Not going to happen.
Nope. Fast into 1, slow off at 2.
This car,
hard. We're not in.
We're not in, buddy.
That's Larry Gunselman on the radio.
Well, I think that was Doug Rickard.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's Doug. You're right.
This would be good news for Scott Riggs because if Todd can't pick it up, it doesn't look like he will. That'll lock Scott in the show.
Second lap for Bodine is about 3/10 slower. So David Starr, Todd Bodine go home. Scott Riggs is in. Riggs will race in the Coke 600, and now we are down to 2. Yaley and Garvey. The bottom 2 with Blaney and Gilliland yet to go.
May I just say, just real quickly before we go to Matt, that watch this car right here. It's going to be fast.
I believe you're right.
Matt.
And I'll tell you what, DW, back in 1980, a part of this car, there's a decal on the back deck lid that Phil Parsons, who was a crew member on his brother Benny Parsons' car in the World 600, he wanted to commemorate that 29 years ago, BP and some other guy that was another legendary driver had an epic battle in the World 600. Many consider that one of the greatest finishes in World 600 history. And Phil was a crew member on that car, because this will be the 30th 600 since that win. he wanted to put a decal on so that everybody out there remembers Old BP here this weekend on a marquee event here at the Coca-Cola 600.
Well, I never come to Charlotte for the 600. I don't remember Benny, because he and I did. It was a battle royal at the last 25 laps of that race, and Benny beat me out by about a fender coming to the line.
Well, here comes Dave Blaney in the Aaron's number 66, 25th overall. Blaney will race here on Sunday night, and that will send Mike Garvey to the house.
I think that just a little jukey. That's Bobby Kennedy, I think, talking to him. Got a little jukey getting down into first lap there. Lost a good bit of speed, but good enough to get in.
Blaney, a Nationwide Series winner here 3 years ago, and we know where he'll be tomorrow night when the World of Outlaws are running across the street on the dirt track.
Yes, sir.
Front and center.
How do they go again?
I think you had a different chip in when you were doing that this afternoon.
That was daytime. It didn't have as much grip.
That's right.
That was a nighttime run there.
All right, we're down to it. J.J. Yaley on the bubble. Here comes David Gilliland from Riverside, California. Hyde Park Storage Suites on the TRG number 71 Chevrolet. And boy, Gilliland looks like he's going to put it solidly in the show.
Well, get me one of those storage suites. I like the sound of that.
They're pretty cool.
Boy, he got off high off turn 2 and lost some time. I still think he's going to be okay unless something really goes crazy down here in 3 and 4.
Man, he rolled it in there nice. He's going to get up the hill there off 4, but he got into 3 really hard and nice.
Yeah, he will definitely race. So there'll be 2 people smiling. David Gilliland, looks like Ryan Newman's going to smile too.
That's right. Gilliland is in 29th. That means that J.J. Yaley in the Mayfield car will not race in the Coke 600. Newman's our pole winner. And we also want to mention that Carl Long would have been here racing, but the engine they pulled out of his car last weekend found to be oversized, and NASCAR has issued a huge penalty to Carl Long and his wife, the owner, and his crew chief, which they have appealed. So Carl is here at the racetrack working, but not entered for the 600. Those are the drivers that fail to make the show. Ryan Newman has won his 8th pole at Lowe's Motor Speedway, the most of all active drivers.
Top drivers buckle up for the circuit's most grueling race. The Coca-Cola
Tonight, Stewart-Haas Racing won their first NASCAR victory in the Sprint All-Star race. It's the Golden Anniversary Coke 600, so 5 nights later, Stewart-Haas Racing wins their first career pole in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. Ryan Newman will share the front row with Kyle Busch. And we're live on Fox Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Let's meet our pole winner, Matt.
Mike, it was Army strong in pole qualifying for the Coca-Cola 600. You broke probably the longest pole streak of your career from last spring to now. What's the most gratifying part of winning another pole here at Charlotte?
Oh, doing it with a different team, you know, going through all the things that we've done this year and being close at Bristol. I mean, we were, I think, 2,000s or 5,000s off the pole there. So just a great run for the U.S. Army Chevrolet. Got to thank Tony Stewart and Gene Haas for this opportunity and all the great people. Obviously, Hendrick Engines and their support is definitely a big part of it. But it was a good lap. Tony Gibson did a great job with the car. We started in race trim, put it in qualifying trim, made it better. So we really look forward to the rest of the weekend. But it's nice after doing this to have a day off.
And especially although the finish wasn't what you wanted in the All-Star race, it seemed like you guys really dialed in the field that you were looking for. And I heard you in practice here today that you felt pretty comfortable with the car. Yeah, I was really comfortable with the car, but it was kind of ironic. We were talking about it up in the truck. You take, the 3-wide deal that happened off turn 4, now you look at the start of the race, it's me, Kyle Busch, and Gordon again. So I hope the first few laps are less interesting than the last 10 that we had in the All-Star race. But I just look forward to it. It's a big race. It's obviously there's a lot of history and 50th running and all that stuff. So I look forward to the opportunity to try to win it. Congratulations. Thank you. Mike?
Newman's 44th career pole puts him 1 behind Buck Baker, who is 10th on NASCAR's all-time pole winning list.
Mike, real quickly, 10 of the last 11 races have been won from the top 10 starting position. 13 races have been won from the pole here. So starting up front here is a big advantage.
Yes, it is. How about just starting this race at all? Steve Burns is with the last 2 drivers to time their way into the show.
Mike, Dave Blaney and David Gilliland, if you want to know what it's like, David just looked at Dave and said, these days don't get any easier, do they?
They don't, man. It's nerve-wracking. We, everybody at TRG Motorsports did a good job getting this car ready to come here, but we struggled in practice today and just kind of changed everything going out there, and we were last to go out, and you kind of see what everybody else runs, and it's definitely nerve-wracking. I mean, it's one lap, and it's go home or race. So it's big for us to make these races, what we got to do, and definitely a lot of pressure on these days. But so far it's been good.
All right, thank you, David. We'll check with Dave Blaney. Dave, same story for you. You're a veteran of this series. You've won championships in other forms of motorsports. Still a lot of emotion.
Well, it is. It's a lot of pressure. Coming and qualifying your way in every week, obviously, and there's a lot at stake. A lot of guys worked hard, spent a lot of money, and you got to get the job done on those 2 laps. And you get to a point where you can't take too many chances. You got to run just fast enough and not take chances and blow it. In my lap there, I think my car was really fast and kind of missed 1 and 2, so I had to kind of be cautious in 3 and 4, not totally ruin a lap. And sets in the middle, but to a point, it doesn't matter where you're at, especially.
Dave, you talk about the pressure. You guys here to race 600 miles?
Well, we are. This will be the first one we get to race. We're lucky enough to have Aaron's on the car, and got a car, one of David Ruderman's cars actually that he's run this year, and we're excited. We thought the car was pretty good today, and they've got a lot of cool stuff to try tomorrow in practice or Saturday in practice. So we'll see how that goes.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Mike, Dave Blaney, the 2 races he was not entered in, Daytona and Talladega, but he's only missed 1 race this year. He missed Las Vegas. David Gilliland, he was not in that car for Daytona, but he has qualified for every single race he's been in.
Here's a look at the Subway starting grid for Sunday night's 50th running of the Coke 600.
Here's what's interesting about that starting grid. Cale Yarborough is the oldest driver to win here at Charlotte Motor Speedway, Lowe's Motor Speedway now. He was 46 years old. And as we go down and we come to Joey Logano, Jeff Gordon is the youngest driver to win here at Lowe's. He was 22 years old. So we could see an older guy or a younger guy set a record here this weekend.
Joe Nemechek there, row 6. And there you see Joey Logano in row 7.
What about Scott Speed? Jumped up there. Nice run for him.
Good lap for Scott after missing the race at Darlington a couple of weeks ago.
Matt Kenseth.
Look at Dale Jr. and Tony Stewart and Matt Kenseth having to come from deep in the field.
And look at Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Tony Stewart and their teammates, Hendrick and Stewart Haas. They're all in the top 5.
Oh, well.
Well, Jimmy Johnson did win this race from 37th back in 03, so you don't have to start up front, but it helps.
It does make it a lot easier, doesn't it?
I think Smoke has hit everybody in the garage today.
He has messed with everybody.
Everybody goes by. He just pops them one time just for good measure.
A couple ex-open wheelers talking it over.
Oh, about tomorrow night.
Yeah, we'll see you tomorrow night live on Fox for the Coca-Cola 600. Congratulations to Ryan Newman, who has won his 8th career pole at Lowe's Motor Speedway.